Hey yo, what's going on guys? This is Mike Reed here and welcome back to part 2 of our very special review of the Nintendo Switch 2. So yes, we are finally back and well, I got all the peripherals now, all ready to go. And of course today we'll be looking at several things in this video. We'll be taking a look at the initial peripherals that I think everybody should get for their 2 because it's very important that you have these before you get started with the 2. And of course today we'll be looking at the initial boot up and of course everything in between that I think you guys need to know about your Switch 2. So let's just jump right in. So first and foremost, let's start off with the peripherals. So, with the Switch 2, there are several different peripherals that you can get for the system. Now, of course, these are the ones that I think are the most important to get for your new Switch. So let's go ahead and start off with the first one, which is a screen protector. So this is the one that I used. This is from iVoler, glass screen protectors. Yes. So I realized that there's some debate in the, not just the Switch community, but just in the tech scene in general about screen protectors. Now, I will say that yes, that in certain instances, you don't necessarily need a screen protector. However, with the 2, and in case you somehow don't know, the Switch 2 is very susceptible to scratching on the screen. Yeah, I know. Kind of crazy, especially for the initial asking price, that the screen scratches so easily. So with that, a screen protector is going to be a must to protect your Switch and your screen, especially for like kids who are going to be buying this, obviously, or families or anything in between. So this one from iVoler, I think, is probably the best bang for your buck screen protector that I've gotten. I mean, I got this thing for like practically a steal, and it is absolutely magnificent. So taking a quick look at its packaging, it's very similar to other iVoler screens that I've used in the past. I've previously used their screen protectors for my OLED model, and it has done me really well. I've been using it for several years, and I can safely say, pretty darn good screen protector, even if they are kind of a nightmare to clean. But anyhow, so of course, with this screen protector, of course, this does have scratch resistance, anti-fouling, explosion proof, okay, easy to install, super hardness, and HD screen. So pretty darn awesome. And of course it got a bunch of warnings because, you know, very important stuff. Then taking a look at the back of this, and it does have a very nice hard backing to it. Of course you get a nice thank you from the company right there. And of course you get all this tech specs and stuff back here. And that's pretty much about it for it. So opening it up, you will be presented, at least if you get it initially like me, you'll have to cut off just a few pieces of tape, and then you open it up to the screen protector. Now they're all nicely protected in this nice sort of foam type thing, and you get about 4 of them in this. Of course, in this as well, you do get some wipes and some various different dust-related things to help with your installation of the screen protector. Now, what is nice too is that you also get this nice frame. This is something I really like about this company, is these little frames. You just simply gently snap it on to the Switch 2's exterior, right, to the actual tablet, and then you just apply the screen protector. Just follow the instructions on the side here, and you'll be good to go. And of course, there's some nice little QR codes as well for further instruction as well. Now, unfortunately with mine, it did take a couple tries to get the screen protector on, but I do have it on now, and it looks absolutely fantastic. You could barely tell it's even there, which is the best. Sure, it does technically have a clear, like, plastic covering on the screen. I don't know if I mentioned that in my initial review, but in case I didn't, just like their OLED model, there is like a thin film that covers the screen to help protect it against like it getting shattered or anything like that. But still, it's better to be safe than sorry, so definitely try and find this iVoler screen protector for your Switch 2. Again, it's a really good deal. They have, I believe, last time I checked, it was on sale, so definitely snag one if you can get it. It's pretty darn good for your Switch 2. So there is that. Now, for those who are just getting into the Switch 2 or are coming over from the original Switch, you'll know that controllers are a pretty big essential with the Switch, and Nintendo thankfully has answered with a Pro controller. Now, this for me is kind of crazy because I've never owned any of the official Nintendo Pro controllers. There's several reasons why I haven't gotten it. First and foremost being the asking price, obviously, but I was lucky enough to find this one on sale, so we're going to take a look at it today for this portion of the review. So here we have Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller, as the side of the box nicely reminds us here of. And looking at the controller itself, I mean, it does look very similar to the original Pro controller. Now, I actually have held an original Pro controller before, particularly the Smash Bros. Variation, way back in, I want to say around 2020, 2019, something like that, I held one. So this is going to be really interesting to see how they improved from what I remember from the original controller up to this Pro controller here. Of course, you get a Nintendo Switch 2 logo at the top, so that way you know this is for your 2. Taking a look at this side, we can see the Nintendo logo, Nintendo Switch 2, and of course we have the new GR and GL buttons, because yes, programmable buttons on an official Nintendo controller. I'm really happy to see that, Nintendo. We're starting to get a little more modern here, so that is great. Now, taking a look at the back here, we do have Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller. And of course, it says right here that it does feature NFC for your amiibo, the capture button, the C button, which can open the game chat feature, and the GLGR buttons, which can be mapped to whatever buttons you like. Look at the back of Nintendo Switch 2 game packaging to see whether the games use Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller or not. System update via internet may be required to use the audio jack. So yeah, we'll be talking about all of that here in just a bit. And then of course on this side it says here, before first use, charge the controller with the Nintendo Switch 2 AC adapter or the included USB charging cable. And then of course it says right here, the Pro controller, you can hook it up to a charging cable, which then connects to your Switch 2 dock, and which then connects to, of course, your wall outlet and your TV. So that is pretty darn cool, or whatever device you're using to capture the game. The controller will automatically pair with the Switch 2 system when it is turned on in TV mode and connected with the USB charging cable. So that's pretty good to know as well. And then of course on this side you get another sort of shot of the Switch 2 Pro controller, and with a very nice pair of hands holding it. So, and on the bottom we do get warning, and that's about it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and crack open this Pro controller and let's see how cool it actually is. And we're actually going to do it live here on camera. So, thankfully for me, I did already cut the tape right here. So I think all we need to do is just pop up this little lid. And of course we get the serial number up there for my controller, which obviously can't show that. But inside you get this nice little box. And you slide it out. And there we go. So first and foremost, we do get a nice USB-C, or USB-A to USB-C charging cable. Very nicely packaged, by the way. Good on you, Nintendo. Very nice. Right there. And then right here, we do get our controller itself. And on the count of 3, we will pull it out of its nice protective foam. A 1, a 2, and voila. Oh, it is nice. This is really nice. So, right away in hand, it does have a very nice matte finish, and it's rather dense. I'm surprised how heavy this thing is. Now, in terms of the sticks themselves, oh, they feel really nice. Oh, they're so nice. Oh, they just glide. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, and then you have the little clicks. Oh, and that's very nice and clicky. Of course, the D-pad also feels really nice. Now, from what Nintendo claims, they have updated the D-pad right here. They have updated it from the original Pro Controller, and you can tell immediately. It feels super nice. Nice and clicky, and hopefully very responsive. Now, of course, the sticks are pretty much identical to those of the original Pro Controller, at least from what I remember. And yeah, again, they just glide in their housings. It is absolutely magnificent how well those glide. Hopefully these don't get drift like the original Switch Pro Controller, because yes, even the original Pro Controller could get stick drift. Now hopefully this one does not, especially for the heavy asking price, at least originally for this controller. Now, of course, here we do get our nice home button, plus and minus, and we do also have our capture button right there. And then down here, of course, we have our lovely C button, which of course allows us to access the new chat feature, the game chat. So that is great. And also down here, you do have an audio jack, so you can plug it in, and you can just listen to your tunes or listen to your games, right, directly from the controller itself. Really, really nice feature. Now, of course, you have your XYAB right here, which again look very, very good. And they do feel very nice and clicky. Nice big button, nice big patios. You can just cock your finger and bam, click that button. Just really, really nice quality controller. And of course, right in the center, you do have the Nintendo Switch 2 logo here, which I believe is where the NFC is going to be, at least from the original Pro Controller. You just tap your amiibo there, or any other amiibo-based accessory, and bam, you load them into the game. Pretty darn awesome. Of course, up here, we do get our nice shoulder buttons. L and R, which again feel really, really nice to click. And of course, right here you do have your ZL and ZR buttons, which are very nicely designed as well. Nice clicks. Of course, right here you have your little power button right here to sync it to your Switch. Of course, right up here you do also have your player indicator LEDs, so 1 to 4. And you do have another little button right here. And of course, you have your USB-C charging port, which is very nicely placed right there in the center. Now, of course, directly on the back, you do have a very nice Nintendo logo printed onto the nice housing here. And, of course, you do have our new GL and GR buttons, which also feel really, really nice to click. So, I'll definitely have to try these and see how good these are in hand. So, which, thankfully, since I have Mario Kart World, that's probably going to be one of the first games we're going to have to try this sucker out on. If you guys, of course, are interested in seeing Mario Kart World on the channel. So, but with that, that's pretty much it for the Switch 2 Pro Controller. Pretty nice. So, I'm definitely going to have to do some more testing with this and see how this feels in hand as well. So, getting this out of the way. And of course, actually, whilst I'm here, I should probably compare it to some of my other controllers that I have. Because this is not my first Nintendo Switch controller, obviously. I've had many a controller in my lifetime. So let's go ahead and do some comparisons. And first and foremost, let's compare it to my original controller, or I guess original-ish controller that I started off with, this third-party Pro Controller. And as you can see, it does look really nice next to it, obviously. And as you can see, you can kind of see what they were going for with the formatting of this controller compared to the official release. So that is pretty awesome. Right there. For our next comparison, let me grab my awesome RGB controller that you've seen me use many times here on the channel. And as you can see, this thing's a little worse for wear. It's definitely seen its fair share of use. But, I mean, it does look super, super good next to it. And you can see, again, just how close the formatting was to the official alternative. And for our next comparison, let me grab my RGB Star controller from the same company. Again, looks pretty darn good. Well, and plus the sticks are in much better condition because this one is relatively newer, thankfully. Last but not least, let me grab my other controller from the same company, just in red and blue. So you can see how that looks next to the original controller for the two here. So now with that said, that's going to be about it for the official Nintendo Switch 2 Pro Controller. So we're going to head and move this out of the way for now. Let's take a look at the final and most important peripheral that anybody should be getting for their Switch 2. And that, of course, is a memory card. So this is the Nintendo Switch 2 micro SD express card. And this is the official alternative for the Nintendo Switch 2. So, of course, it says here, micro SDXC, SD Express card right there, micro express for the Nintendo Switch 2. 256 gigs on board. So, and this is really, really hard to come by. Believe it or not, this was the hardest peripheral to get for the system. Because yes, the console does come with 256 gigs on board, but you and I both know that that's not nearly enough, my dear viewers, to get you going on your Switch, especially if you're coming from the original Switch like I am. So, a memory card is a must. And of course, here we get the Super Mario Edition right here. So, and Samsung is pretty darn good. I've used a lot of their SD cards. I've never had a problem with them. So, this should be a pretty darn good memory card. So, pretty darn nice right there. Of course, it has the official Nintendo seal because, yeah. this is about as official as it gets for this sucker. And then, of course, on the back, we do get a whole bunch of stuff here, including, of course, it is waterproof, wear-out proof, X-ray proof, temperature proof, magnet proof, and drop proof. So, yeah, you can be as crazy with this thing as you want. This thing ain't gonna break. At least unless, of course, you're actually trying to break it, obviously. So, and then, of course, you get some tiny little warnings and this, that, the other on the back here. And, of course, we got, of course, it can be used with game consoles, laptops, and it does have a limited warranty on it. So that is very good. So without further ado, guess we should probably go ahead and crack this thing open and pop it into the Nintendo Switch 2. And, of course, I'll gladly show you guys how you pop it in to your Switch 2 as well. Because, well, if I'm going to set it up, then I'm going to have that in from the start. So I'm grabbing my handy-dandy box cutter here and adjusting the camera real quick. Let's go ahead and crack this thing open. So, it does open up really, really nice like so, or at least it should, you would think. But this might require a little more finagling, it seems, to get this darn thing open. Good grief. Here. Ugh. Alright. Hold on a second here, guys. This might actually take me a little bit to get it out. And unfortunately, I don't think the packaging is going to survive. But that's okay. Alright, guys. With the packaging now fully opened, and surprisingly still roughly intact, here we have our brand new Samsung microSD express card. Right here. And it is super, super tiny, and it does feel really good. Nice printing. Of course, you got your little M for Mario on it. And it does look like an express card. That's it. This is the future now. So, and some of you are probably wondering, why do we have to use an express card as compared to the original SD cards that you could just use with your original Switch? Well, see, here's the thing. With the Switch 2, it's designed to load games faster and, of course, provide lower latency for gameplay on the console. So for that, we needed to upgrade to this new format. Now, the only consequence of this, of course, is that trying to find these microSD express cards, like I said, are pretty darn difficult, especially if you want one that has a rather substantial amount of space. So for now, I'm going to have to go from 1 terabyte that I had on my OLED to now down to a 256 Express. I'm not happy about it, but it is the way it is. It's either that or I just can't use my console. So that's kind of the risk you run with this. Now, for a quick comparison as well, let me go ahead and grab my original Switch SD card that I got when I got my very first Switch back in 2020. Because yes, I still have that card for some reason. Because why not? Why not get it? And of course I keep it in my very nice Nintendo Switch storage case, which I know for a fact isn't going to work with my 2 now. But hey, at least I still have it for the memories. Well, that, and of course for my OLED as well, by proxy. Now, let's see here. Actually, I think I might have moved it to a different case. Hold on a second here, guys. Alright, guys, with some kind of quick digging around, here, of course, we have my original SD card versus, of course, the new microSD Express card. And as you can see, they are pretty much identical, given the fact that this one, of course, still has the Mario theme on it, very nice red, but sadly, it does have 128. But at the time, that was more than enough to at least get me started. Unlike now, where, different story. But still, pretty darn nice looking cards, all things considered. Alright guys, so with that out of the way, let's go ahead now and show off how you can insert this new memory card into your brand new Nintendo Switch 2. So here is the Switch 2, once again with the tablet. And it is very easy to do. All you need to do is turn it around to the back, like so. And you just simply lift up the kickstand, just like so. And right here, you will see there is a little slot that says right here, microSD Express. And this, of course, is where you're going to insert it. And it's very easy to do. So all you're going to do is take your memory card, make sure it's facing the right way, as per the little illustration on the bottom, and then you just push it in. And if you did it correctly, it will just click right into place. Fold down your kickstand again, and there you have your Switch 2 with the memory card fully inserted. So, with that now being said, let's go ahead and make some room here. And let me get some handy dandy protectors real quick for my 2. Because, of course, this is another thing that I think is kind of an essential. You're definitely going to need to get yourself some dust covers. Now, thankfully, I have them in abundance here. So I'm just going to grab some for the USB Type-C ports. And you're just going to carefully insert those into the USB-C ports on the top and the bottom to protect them, like so. Then I'm going to grab one for the headphone jack and pop one into the headphone jack. Just like that. So now, my Switch 2 is fully protected from the elements. Just like that. So we'll pop the kickstand down. And we will grab our handy dandy Switch 2 Joy-Cons from their protective sleeves. Stick them onto the console. And let's go ahead and give it its very first boot. Right here. So just press the power button. And let's see if it boots on. Oh, we have power. Oh boy. And here we are. Welcome to the future. Nintendo Switch 2. How cool is this? And listen to this music. Oh, it's awesome. Alright, so now from here, we can use our brand new Joy-Cons and set up the console. So first and foremost, you can select your language. Now thankfully there are a very nice assortment of languages here. So you have English UK, English US, French, Canadian, Dutch, Spanish, Italian, Netherlands, Portuguese, Brazilian, and of course a whole bunch of Asian-based languages, and I believe one of those is Korean. So we're going to select English US. And of course you can select our region. Now of course I am in the Americas right here. And of course you're going to have to select a end user license agreement. So we'll go ahead and accept that. And we'll click next. Now from here we need to configure our internet settings. So let me just do a quick jump cut while I set that up. Alright, so now with the internet all set up, we can now take a look at this. This is our system update screen. So now we need to update, now we have to download an update. So we'll go ahead and click that, and we'll wait for that to download. Oh, and of course you get to select a time zone, which for me, of course, is going to be this. So we'll select that, and okay. And now, of course, here we get a change playstyle menu. With the Switch 2, you can play games whenever you want, however you want. Or wherever you want, however you want. I can't read. The system can stand at whatever angle you like. Just pull out the rear stand. You can now connect the AC adapter to the top of the system. So, yeah, I am using the stand, so we'll click that. And, of course, now it's going to give us a tutorial to set up the Joy-Cons. So, right here it says to hold the release button and to pull on the side to release the controller. And now it's also instructing us to take off the left one. So we press a button on the back, just like we did in the first part, and take it off. There we go. Select next the controller you removed. So we'll click A. Do you want to connect to a TV and play on a larger screen? We will go ahead and do that later. You can use the accessories that came with the system to hold the Joy-Con 2 controllers in multiple ways. Now, of course, from this screen, you can view the attachment guide, or, of course, you can skip. We're going to skip for this review. Choose a style, and you can change it at any time. So, see, we can do handheld, we can do tabletop like we're doing now, or TV mode. So that is awesome. And now, of course, it's going to download an update. So we'll do a quick jump cut while this updates. Alright guys, and we are almost there. Just a few more ticks. 96. 97. 98. 99, and done. All right, and now it is going to restart like so. Now hopefully this should not take very long, and it didn't. It's right back on. That was quick. Or maybe not. Hello. Oh, there we go. Okay, system update is now complete. So we'll select. And now we come to the most important step. That being, if you have a Nintendo Switch 2, you can or have a Nintendo Switch 1, you can transfer data from your Switch to Nintendo Switch 2. So here we can do a start system transfer, or you can select, well, if I can actually hook up the other Joy-Con too, don't transfer. And of course right here you can read about the transfers from here. So this part is where things are going to get interesting because I'm going to have to do a transfer from my Switch 1 to the Switch 2. So we're going to go ahead and select Start System Transfer. Now, of course, I'm going to have to do a jump cut whilst I do this because this is going to be the longest step. So, gotta sign into my account, and then we'll go from there. So, see you guys in just... Alright guys, so now that I am done finally getting through all that, so for those who are curious what I had to do, it was very simple. All you had to do is just log into your Nintendo account, right? It's going to, you can either do it on the actual Switch itself, or you can log in via a phone QR code. Then after that, it's going to ask you for a QR, or for a, I think it's a 6-digit code, right? That's either going to be on your phone, or whatever case may be. Especially if using the phone method. I think the other way, it just signs in and it just goes. And then, of course, you'll get a little thing that shows that you've logged in. It's going to show your profile. It's going to show your username, that type of thing. And I should also mention that if you're going to log in and set up your Switch 2, you need to do this with your main account. Do not do this with any other account. Use your main account that you've been using for the Switch up to this point. Just make sure you do that. Now, of course, it's saying to move the system and the source system close to transfer data. So we'll go ahead and bring in, of course, the lovely OLED model back here. And this is when we hit next. And now, of course, it's going to ask you to connect it to an AC adapter, so that way you can start downloading the data directly on the 2. So we'll go ahead and I believe, let me see, do I have an outlet available? Oh, I do. All right, so let me get my AC adapter real quick here. We'll plug that in, and then we'll get it going. So we'll see you guys in just a second. All right, guys, so now that we have the AC adapter plugged into the top of the console, now it's going to say to move the system and the source system close together. So we'll bring them right here, and we'll have it off screen here to the left. So you guys can see, there's the old console, and here's the new one. So we're going to go ahead and hit done. And now, of course, it's going to ask you to do different things on the actual Switch 1 itself. So this is where we now go on to the Switch 1. So we're going to go ahead and boot it on. And we're going to do some simple setting up here. So we're going to go ahead and go into that. And we're going to do the following things. We need to go to the home menu. We need to go to the settings menu, system and system transfer to the 2. Then we'll continue to set a process until you see the searching for the Switch 2. So we're going to go ahead and do that on the Switch 1. So see you guys in just a second. Alright guys, so once I go through all the options here, because once you start up the Switch 1 and you select the new system transfer option, of course it's going to tell you everything like, accounts that aren't connected to a Nintendo account on the Switch 1 will be transferred to the Switch 2, but they won't be available on your Switch 1. Of course, it'll tell you what games are going to be transferred from the 1 to the 2, that type of thing. And now, of course, it's asked me to connect another gosh darn AC adapter to continue the transfer process. So give me a second whilst I grab another AC cable. Good grief. Alright, so now on this screen, of course, it's now saying that the Switch 2 is now connected to the Switch 1, so you'll see that here, connected to the Switch 2 system, connecting the AC adapter to each system, and keep them next to each other. Continue on the Switch 2 system to download the data. So now we come to this screen, and of course now it's going to say, connected to the Switch 2 system, data will now be received. And of course it's going to tell you the same thing, connect your AC adapter, so that way nothing goes wrong during the transfer. And now, once I click this button, goodbye, Switch 1. Hello, Switch 2. And here it goes. So, of course, it's going to tell us to wait. And system transfer is going. So now this is going to be the longest part. So I'm probably going to need to cut this video short here. And I'll see you guys potentially later today, because this could take a while. So here we go. Alright guys, we're almost there. Just a few more seconds here, I think. So as you guys just saw, the transfer has just finished. And now it's saying, of course, on the Switch 1 here, the data has been sent. Please wait while the process is completing on the Nintendo Switch 2. So now we're going to sit here and wait for the system to set itself up. And then finally, guys, we can take a look at the all-new Nintendo Switch 2. This is going to be absolutely insane. I'm so excited. And hopefully you guys are too, to experience the new console with me. So, we're going to go ahead and just wait here. Of course, it says the Joy-Con controllers for the Switch 1 can still be used with the 2 if they're connected wirelessly. So yeah, I'm going to have to test all my controllers and everything, so that is great with that. And hopefully all my controllers should work. So that I'm going to have to do on my own time, obviously. But for now, I just wanted to get, of course, with you guys the general setup and, of course, the initial boot of the Switch 2. Because this is a special moment for us Nintendo fans. It really is. And this is special for me, because I didn't think I'd ever get this thing. But, well, like I said, there's no turning back now. It's, once this goes through, Switch 1 is, well, a thing of the past, sadly. I mean, I'm still keeping mine, obviously, but still, it's just, This is absolutely nuts. To think that I would ever give up my OLED after everything I've been through with it. But here we go. Download complete. Software will be downloaded later. Alright, let's go ahead and hook up my controllers again. And we will hit next. Now, of course, screenshots and videos will be imported from the SD card that was being used with the Switch system. So we'll go ahead and hit next here. And of course, have the micro SD card used on the Nintendo Switch ready. So we have that. Oh, okay, so now we're actually going to swap out SD cards. So, to do that, it's going to be very simple. Of course, right here, we'll just go on to the OLED, and we'll just pop it out, which is going to be rather difficult to do. Okay. So SD card is being removed. And now we will remove the new Express card, which is just the same as putting it in. You just push it and it just comes out. And now we're going to pop in the original card that I used on my Switch 1. A micro SD has been inserted. Screenshots and videos on the memory card will be copied to the system memory. Now, of course, this is going to take a while. No surprise. So, time to start copying. Alright, we'll see how quickly this goes here, because I might actually not need to make a jump cut here. We'll see. So, as you can see on screen, it is in fact copying. And it's actually going rather quick. I'll give it to the Switch 2. It's going really fast right now. Even though, of course, evidently I have a lot of screenshots and videos on this thing. A heck of a lot more than I thought I'd have, but it's fine. So, we will wait for this thing to transfer over. So, okay, just a little over halfway there. Shouldn't take too much longer now, I don't think. Oh boy. Okay. Well, at least I'll give it to the Switch 2, like I said. It is going faster. Well, plus, this SD card I'm using has a really good read and write ratio, so that helps too. And done. Screenshots and videos were copied to the system memory. Okay. So we'll go ahead and take the SD card out now. And we'll go ahead and reinsert the original card. Okay, microSD Express card has been inserted. Alright, and now I'm going to have to go ahead and reinsert the SD card back into my OLED on the other side as well. Probably. So we'll go ahead and reinsert that. Ah, boy. I never liked this SD card slot on the OLED. Never was a big fan. but it is reinserted now. So we'll go ahead and hit next. Move the imported screenshots and videos to the microSD express card. Yes, please. Okay. Because, yeah, that's going to definitely free up some memory. So, plus it's better that they're on there, just in case the internal memory fails, obviously. Not that it should, but just in case, we're going to move it to there. And plus, it doesn't take up that many gigs anyway, from what I checked on my original Switch, so I'm not too worried about this. So. Alright. So anyways, guys, I guess whilst we're waiting here, how are you guys enjoying y'all Switch 2s? If you have one, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of the Switch 2. You guys like it? You guys don't like it? Did you get one for yourself? Did you get multiple for the family? If for some reason you could afford that, especially with the initial asking price and everything, let me know. Let me know. Also, whilst we're at it, how many of us out there got every peripheral for the Switch 2? The camera, a spare pair of Joy-Cons, you know, like the Joy-Con charging grip. Who out there got everything? And who here bought some indie games on the Switch 2? Anybody buy Cyberpunk, Elden Ring, Fast Fusion, any of that stuff? Did any of you get that? Did you guys pre-order some of those indie games? Let me know. Because again, I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say about the Switch 2 and everything. So, alright, we're almost there. Just a few more schmackins. And, come on. There we go. The imported screenshots and videos have been saved to the microSD express card. Alright. Screenshot and video import complete. You can find and view the imported data in the album. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and restart the console real quick here, and hopefully by then the Switch 2 will be ready to go here. So see you guys in just a second. Alright, and the Switch 2 is now booting back online here. System transfer complete. Oop, I gotta connect my controllers again. Bam. The theme color from the source system will be carried over. Thank you, because I like my dark mode screen because it saves my battery. Setup complete. Go to the home menu, press home. And... Let's go! Woo! Alright. And here we go, guys! The Nintendo Switch 2! Woo! Alright, so all my games are coming over, and everything's looking awesome. Check out this home menu, guys. This is crazy. I'm loving this home menu. So, of course, it is very similar to the Switch 1's home menu. Now, of course, we have the Nintendo Switch Online menu. Of course, we have our new Game Chat button. Of course, we have our news article, Nintendo eShop, album, game share, our controllers menu, virtual game card settings, and sleep mode are all down there. So now that we have the system all set up, and of course all of my games coming over, which is excellent, let's go ahead now, and we can of course check out the new sounds, because the Switch 2 does have new sounds. As you can see when I'm selecting over different games, different sounds will be playing. Check that out. And then, of course, if I click the different menus, they'll all make little sounds. So as you can see, those are just some of the new sounds you can hear on your Nintendo Switch 2. How awesome is this? Now, of course, just like the original home menu, you can scroll around like this, using your D-pad or your joysticks to scroll the menus. Very, very nice to see. But with the Switch 2, we now have the mouse controls, which I can show you guys that right now. So we'll grab our new Joy-Con rails, and let's try out the new mouse feature. This is going to be super, super cool. Cannot wait to see how this is going to work on this new console. So, very, very exciting. And get some paperwork out of the way. Grab this new handy-dandy sleeves here. Oh, and some update data is coming through, so just ignore that. Whilst I grab the new wrist straps. Now, as you guys remember, to insert them, it is very, very simple. You just hook them on the bottom and hook them on the top. Very, very easy to do. And we'll do the same with the blue one. Take the blue strap and hook it on. And now, if I move my Joy-Con from sideways to the mouse option, now the mouse controls should be active for this controller. And look at that. We get a mouse cursor on the screen. How cool is that? Yeah, so as you can see, I can kind of like scroll over. If I click my R trigger and I hold, I can scroll just like on a laptop or a computer, which is super, super cool. So you can drag along, and then to click, you just hover over whatever you want, and then you just hit the R trigger. And you have to double click. You have to double click to get into stuff, and then you click once to get out of it. See, I can do a double click and then close. And then of course for the buttons down here, it's the same way. Hover over what you want, click. And then to back out of it, you just click the back button, or you hit the B on the side. One of the two. And see, if I hit the B button, still works like that. How cool is this, guys? So, so awesome. And of course, you can still scroll the menu with the thumbstick as well. It's still perfectly functional. Everything works exactly the way you want. And what's nice too is you don't have to use it on a hard surface. I can set the Joy-Con on my lap, and it still works perfectly fine. Of course, it isn't going to be as comfortable as it is on an actual tabletop, but still, the fact that you can do this is really, really cool. And of course, the same goes for the other one. So when you hold it down like this on the left one, it will automatically start going into mouse mode. And it works the exact same way as with the right Joy-Con. So, but when you click, you have to click with this trigger, the L trigger. And you can't, I don't think you can use the ZL or ZR, can you? Let me check. Oh, you can use either trigger to click, just like an actual mouse. How cool is that? So, very, very cool that you can do that. And then, of course, you click and hold to scroll, and etc., etc. And as you can see, all my games are just coming over from my one, so that is great. And of course, you can see all of my accounts are still preserved right here, so that is very good to see. Of course, you can see the time, 9:24 a.m. My Wi-Fi is on, and the battery level. So now let's go into the settings real quick, and let's see what settings we can tinker with on the Switch 2. So the first setting that you guys are definitely going to need to do, I believe, involves the system. And I believe there is a power cutoff. Yeah, stop charging around 90%. Click that. And as it says right here, if we do the double click, because the zoom still works exactly the way it does on the Switch 1, it shortens the amount of time the system can be used while unplugged, but it can help reduce the loss of battery capacity over time. Now, this is very important because those who will be using their Switch 2 long term, you don't want your battery to go kaput in a long period, over long periods of time. So definitely enable this feature immediately. And I'm talking immediately. As soon as you get through all the setup, get your transfer, everything, do this. Please do this. Very, very important. And then, of course, you have your serial information, various other things. You got software auto updates. Definitely have that enabled, so that way your games will automatically update whenever there's an update available. Of course, you have shared data, data clear options. And of course, you get a bunch of serial information, all that type of stuff. Of course, you have your sleep mode. Of course, you have auto sleep, so you can set all that up whenever you want. Wake when the AC adapter is disconnected. That is something I'm definitely going to have to turn off. because I'm not a big fan of that, so I'm definitely going to have to turn that off for me. Keep wire connection active in sleep mode. I'm definitely going to have to do that. Of course, you can play a wake-up sound in the TV mode, and of course, you can do a normal, quiet, or a loud sound. We're going to keep it normal for now. Then, of course, you have an auto-sleep when playing media content, so that is pretty cool. So let's auto-sleep interrupt media after the system has been idle for 4 hours. And, of course, you can set up the auto-sleep. Now, you can have it sleep after 15 minutes, 2, 3, 6, or 12 hours. So that's awesome. And then, of course, you can auto-sleep it while it's on here. So that's pretty cool as well. We'll leave these on the defaults for now, and of course I'll have to tinker with these on my own time when I feel I need to tinker with them. Of course, notifications. There's notifications right here as well that you can set up. Different themes. So you still have the white and the dark, but from what Nintendo has claimed, they are going to be adding more themes in the future. Excellent. Really, really excited to check out those when those do become available. Of course, you have Amiibo, so of course you can enter owner nickname, delete game data, reset Amiibo, all that stuff. And then right here you have the Me editor, and of course right here you have the display. So of course you can have the HDR output because this system does have HDR 120 frames, so nice bump from the Switch 1. TV resolution, RGB range, screen burn-in reduction, Mesh TV power state. There's a whole bunch of stuff. And of course you can turn on low latency, all this different stuff in the menus. And then of course you have the audio for the game chat, which is great. You can set it to automatic, you can set it to system speakers, that type of stuff. So that is awesome. And then you have system virtual surround, headphone virtual surround, mute when headphones disconnected, lower the max volume, all kinds of different stuff right here. Microphone input volume, all kinds of new stuff to work with on the 2. You can change grip order, GLGR buttons, update controller, etc., etc. So lots of different stuff. Swap your A and B. So lots of different features you can interact with. And of course you can see all of my users available. Data management, so you can see how much space is being used up on the card versus on the memory, that type of thing. Accessibility, so you can have button mapping in the quick settings. We will do that. So then if you go to the quick menu, see, now you can change your button mapping right there, which is awesome. And of course, in the quick menu, whilst we're here, you can see you had the sleep mode, auto brightness, you have your brightness settings, volume settings, airplane mode. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can interact with on your 2. You can set up parental controls from here for the kids. Of course, got my Wi-Fi settings, pair device, auto brightness, airplane mode, health and safety, etc., etc. So I think from here, let's see if we can try to pair up our brand new Pro Controller. So to turn off the controllers, it is very simple. You just press the little button on the top here, and then it will power right off. So that's excellent. And of course, it's going to register in the system when the controllers are powered off. It knows when the controllers are on and when they're off, etc., etc. So from here, we'll power on our Pro Controller, because it should have some battery. At least I would hope. No? Surprisingly, it has absolutely no battery. That is very concerning. You'd think they would put it in with some power. But regardless, on my own time, I'm going to have to hook that up. But I think for now, guys, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for part 2, and to conclude my initial review of the Nintendo Switch 2. How awesome is this? I love the Switch 2 already. This thing is amazing. Can't wait for all the new games to download, and so I can play all my new games with you guys. And of course, I gotta wait for my update to go through on Splatoon 3, gotta wait for my 2 to come over, etc., etc. This is going to be absolutely great. And of course, I'm gonna have to try out all my physical games to see if they'll register in the system, so on and so forth. Gonna have to test out everything. Just test everything, you know what I mean, to see if it all works on the 2. And of course, I'm gonna have to try to hook up controllers, so on and so forth. So it's gonna be absolutely nuts, but hopefully everything will be able to work on the new 2. So I'm very excited. Very, very excited once this all goes ahead and downloads. And of course, I'm going to have to hook up all my new dock and everything. So yeah, there's going to be a lot to do on my spare time. But with that being said, that's going to be about it. So thank you guys for watching this special review. And, well, Later, Read Squad, and have a good one.